All right, Appendix A, Requirement Roadmap Worksheet. The Requirement Roadmap Worksheet starts with a high-level objective task, standard acquisition, assurance quality level, and assessment inspection. What will be inspected, data source, how it will be assessed and inspected, who is responsible, metric calculation, and incentive. Appendix B, the Service Acquisition Project Plan. Ensure the service management involvement, support, build the team, appoint the core team members, project management, program team leader, CO, COR, SPS, EN, JF, FM, empower team, vision statement, charter, MOU, etc. Develop rules and contact, develop a primary project plan, projected timeline, updated regularly, documented keys and the action times, schedule constraints, updated regularly, align workload to the team members tab, multidisciplinary expertise, define roles and responsibility, identify with the gaps in between workload, resources, option of individual civilian personnel, option obtaining additional military personnel, obtaining contract support through augmentation sourcing team if needed, establishing costs, obtaining approval and funding, identifying the length of the time required for the support, developing a solicitation task record, identifying stakeholders and mutual consensus to the user's approval, senior management, small business reps, etc. 131, identifying interests, objectives, possible objections, identifying the additional team members, developing communication plans, refining communication plans, coordinating with major comms, DRUs, and FOAs, and coordinating with the agency headquarters, developing, maintaining knowledge based on the project life, creating the project library, planning, schedule the topical training of the such risk of the contracting officer representative, source selection, etc. 2. The review of the current strategies, identifying the current and initiative, contract review of the documentation, current prophecy, cost, quality, and schedule, understanding the current stakeholder issue, documenting the current metrics being programmed, and risk identification, cost, schedule, performance, the CLM 017, and risk management, documenting the current process, detail user requirements, acquisition process, service steps, the multiplier to functions of the contingency program process, the documented current life cycle of the service, identifying the changes of the site associated with the service, understanding the impact of the contingency operation, understanding the effects of small business participation, primary level assets, small business subcontracting objections, opportunities, understanding low command funding authority, understanding the effects of building, bundling, and consolidating, and if applicable, analyzing lessons learned, grievous acquisitions. 2. 5. Determine the status of the government furnished property management or materials or facilities, determine availability, services, etc. Determine the deposition plan for the current future, determine the replacement cost, life cycle expectation reports, repair costs, stakeholders, interviews, analysis, submission, current and projected requirements, review the current and statutory requirements when changed to the last acquisition. 2. To define a high-level desired rates. To link desired results to mission, high-level objectives, review the current performance of high-level desired results. Major user supplier, communicate with the stakeholders to gain staff level perspectives, current stakeholders to gain the understanding of the operational process, define the process and contingency environment, cost, vendors, industry, the perspective of the current process, refine the results, validate the vision, including the key performance outcomes, stakeholders, market research, take out an approach to market research, discuss approach with the entire team, describe the method of the document, the sharing of the findings, determine the data source, developing standards for interview with the group, determine the information required, determine the questions to be asked, determine who will be interviewed, determine who will be conducted in the interviews, ask what do I need to not ask to need to know, conduct market research, spend the time learning of the public sector counterparts, contract DoD counterparts for the best practices, look for opportunities in strategic sourcing, other agencies, contact private sector for the best practice in industry, consider alternative technology, method of safety missions, request information for the service provider, identify the capabilities, address quality assurance, identify the right recent innovation technologies of the process, determine the abilities and dependability, consider one-on-one meetings with the team, site visits with the gather the information analysis, market research, evaluate the current strategy with against the market research, identifying the proposed potential state provided for the small business classification, identifying the commercial competitive environment, identifying the initiative approach for delivering service, identifying the labor, the cost services, identifying the key industry cost drivers. Identifying the opportunities, leverage of the one, look over the leverage of the aligning with the cost driver to determine the additional research, and then allow the time to go back and analyze the market, emerging suppliers, and document the research of the trends, CLL 015 business case analysis, capture the finding of the market research. 401, requirements definition, conducting the performance risk analysis, identify the performance risk area, to develop the risk mitigation strategy, to mitigate the internal and external threats of the stability, conduct the requirements analysis, review the mission, objectives, the vision. 422, define the desired outcome results, review the incorporated commercial quality standards, cross-reference research, review the incorporated commercial government best practices, consider the desired relationship with the supplier, strategic versus tactical versus transactional. The 4.3, building requirements roadmap, to define the high-level objectives, performance task, define the required performance standards, define the deviation performance threshold, the acceptability quality level, rely on the commercial quality standards, determine the method and means of the inspection, develop the preliminary performance measure to determine the source of data, method measures, to identify the organizational role with the inspected check, determine the availability data, the potential cost of the benefit inspection, identify the trained contacting officers, representative, validate the road to end-to-end to ensure the completeness, standardize the requirements where possible, to leverage market influence, develop the performance work statement of objectives, performance work statement, review the expanded roadmap to the complete performance work statement, the contract to solve the problem, including labor mix statement of objectives, describe the desired outcomes road based on the roadmap, describe the scope, define the high-level performance objectives, define the constraints, summarize the relevant background and known restrictions, develop the preliminary quality assurance surveillance plan, develop the independent government estimate based on the projected and forecast of the performance work statement of objectives analysis, projected funding against the demanded forecast or CLM 016 cost estimating, determine spend projection, establishing stakeholder consensus, identifying the organization's systematic resistance strategy, prepare the overcome resistance, but develop the message to sell the strategy, establish the review cycle to ensure the strategy is realized, acquisition strategy, developing business preliminary acquisition strategy, review the market of the suitable existing contract, determine the existing contract can be used, a new contract required, determine who will provide an oversight of the outside of the contract, developing the preliminary business case, analyzing the market research of the small business prime opportunities, developing realistic small business subcontracting goals, identifying the meaningful measure of the judge's strategic success, validate the preliminary business cases and acquisition strategy with the stakeholder, finalize acquisition strategy, apply the contracting type of the order, proceeding with the type of the best, achieving the performance, identifying with the incentive type of the contractor would contribute with the performance result, consider other incentive tools, recognize the power of the profit of the motivator, consider the fair opportunity, multiple award contracts, allocated workload within the team, ensure that you have the resources required to support the acquisition, communicate the workload responsibilities based on the new strategy, prepare the acquisition planning documents, developing the acquisition plan, developing the source selection plan, identifying the key evaluation standards, the technical evaluation of the developed plan, developing the section L and M and the request for proposal, emphasizing the performance of the evaluation, the due diligence, identify the additional performance required for the source selection team, obtain the acquisition source selection approvals, obtain the higher headquarters office Secretary of Defense approval, if required, of the DPAP of the CIO or N2 based on the dollar value, consider the draft of the request for proposal. 6. Execute the strategy. Issue the request of the proposal or the military interdependent purchase request. Conduct the source selection. Analyze the proposal. Award contract completion. The selection of the best evaluation. Source selection. Use the oral presentation inappropriate with the competitive range. Deterioration. Award of the discussion. Emphasize the past performance evaluation. Due to diligence. Decision pre for the source selection authority. The source selection authority award decision pre-award approval documents. Contract awarded the debriefing on successful efforts to finalize the contracting assurance surveillance, and 661 having contractor propose the matrix of the quality assurance surveillance, select one of the meaningful measures with which the judge has met success, finalize the performance measured, finalize the performance baseline, ensure the contractor officer representative has designated letters that have been trained, post-awarded in implementing transition, communication, implementation, transition strategies, business rules to the stakeholders, conduct required training and education, educated customer, any kind of new contract administrative personnel, contact implementation, kicking off the meetings, monitoring, and managing the contracting of the transition 7.0. Manage performance transition for the acquisition performance management. Restructure the team to meet the new roles and responsibility. Assign the accountability for the management of the contract performance. Add the contract to the team. Manage the administrative overall program and develop the process of the overall management of the task. Deliver the verify the implementation. Ensure the compliance of the management of the performance results. Update the communication plan for the meetings of the suppliers, stakeholders, etc. Establish the documentation regular scheduled review sessions. Monitoring the task and delivery order performance. Monitor of the performance of the quality assurance surveillance plan, submit the performance assessment report to the contracting officer and administrator, provide the performance of the contract feedback with the contracting office, monitoring the contractor performance, monitoring the performance of the quality assurance surveillance plan, submit the contractor performance assessment reports or CPARs, provide the contractor performance feedback to the appropriate stakeholders, customers, monitoring the supplier performance, subcontracting performance, monitoring the performance of and supplier secondary targets, submit the concerns of the contracting officer, support service portfolio manager, government personnel, conduct the quarterly supplier key stakeholders performance reviews, evaluate the effectiveness strategy over time, collect the feedback of the stakeholders, review the evaluated strategy, collect the industrial data, the understood and effective strategy on the marketplace, and analyze the strategy performance on the performance based on the metrics, reevaluate the current strategy on the changes, regularly review the performance of multifunctional teams, develop the plan for the continuous improvement. Appendix C is a service acquisition or SAMS DA meal. Welcome to SAMS DAU Service Acquisition Mall.